And we're off. Good. So this is what we're going to eventually get to. I also will use this opportunity to promote the summer sketching and perspective course, which is a course that is a requirement if you want to have the perspective and rendering certificate that Harper offers, which is really just a chance to do more of this. The focus on that class is freehand sketching, and because the weather is warmer, I will have some assignments where you work outdoors and draw architectural spaces or really any kind of space from observation. So here we're making it up. The course in the summer is a combination of making it up and also drawing from what you see. Okay, so here, to take this back to an earlier state, let me just cut some of the paper. There we go. All right. So here, as usual, I'll load my mechanical pencil. If you have a mechanical pencil, this one, which is an inexpensive Bic mechanical pencil, that's trashed. If you buy the little vials of graphite that has, like, it's the right size of graphite, it's like this is a 0.5 millimeter, so it's 1/2 of a millimeter is the width of the, I guess, the diameter of the cylinder. That's like the one with the black cap. You can use a cheap mechanical pencil, but buy the decent stuff that you can get at Blick or other like office and art supply stores. All right, horizon line. So let's start with, we'll just start with simple one-point perspective. One-point perspective with this, you'll see, is, really something that you can start. How many of you have drawn a wall elevation?
I have.
Okay, so a wall elevation is a rectangle, and then it's whatever's on that wall. Windows, doorways. Let's do this with window. I hear a kitty coming behind me. There's Dennis. And when you did the wall elevation, did you determine this, the height in scale?
Yes.
Okay. And so with a wall elevation, you could use your scale and create measurable height. So if this is like a 9, but even just sketching this out freehand right now, if this is a 9-foot wall and eye level is 5, let's just put eye level at 5 feet. That's going to be a little bit more than half the height, right? That's too high. Right. So this is a way to approximate scale. Let me increase the size there so you can see this better. I'm not sure if I'm going to really use that window much. But so here is a this wider. Okay. There. So this is a wall looking straight at it. And you know from drawing one-point perspective objects, if you begin with just a rectangle, you draw back to the vanishing point, you can create the depth of the object. Here, if I say my vanishing point is right here on this horizon line, this is like you're inside one of those rectangular objects, and you draw out from the vanishing point. You don't just cross the diagonals here because this is not in the center. And you can only it's not a square either, it wouldn't work. Use your vanishing point. Just choose my corner there. I use a straight edge just to show you, like, it's way out like that. It's actually pretty decent. Almost close, but not quite. There. Isn't that simple? Yes. So now this also helps me if this is 9 feet, approximately 5 feet, maybe 5.5. This gives me some idea of the scale I'm dealing with. And a person standing here, like let's say a person standing right here, this is eye level, someone who's approximately the height of the scale of the room. This figure I'm drawing, by the way, is really kind of a glorified stick figure. I hear people say sometimes, I can't even draw a stick figure. Like, well, you can. You should try it. I mean, they definitely can draw a stick figure. People usually try to protect themselves when they don't know how to draw and they learn that you can draw. There's really no reason for that. But watch this stick figure. I'll just do a little demo down here. Right? Stick figure. We all know this character. No shoulders, no hips. If we take this and the head is way out of scale, I'll make the head smaller, give this poor guy a neck, shoulders. I can bring this down here for the middle. But here, this allows the arms to hang at the side. This poor person's arms are coming right from the neck and right under the chin. That won't really work. It's not how we're made. Hips here, legs. I guess I'm running out of room. Knee joint. The feet are down there. Elbow joint. And then from here, I can just fill this in a little bit. And then I can just sort of fill in some shape that's about right for this guy. There. So that is not a good representation of a human. All right. Now,
are we going to be drawing people in this class?
I'm going to ask you to sketch like this. I don't expect a lot of detail, but I would like you to try. I mean, do you feel like if you watch me do this, do you feel like you could draw this type of person?
Probably after a little while.
Yeah, I think you should practice it. And if you do this, maybe I'll just make a little demo video just for drawing the figure.
That would be really helpful.
A figure.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Yeah, I mean, a figure in a in an architectural drawing doesn't have to look like, well, it doesn't have to look photographic. It just needs to look, this is here to help communicate scale. And it does help, it helps to communicate scale to see a figure standing there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely tell more with that person standing there than without them.
It looks more like you understand how much is above the person's head. By the way, locating, like if I wanted to see, like this is where the person's standing over this spot right here, I want to locate on the ceiling. Let's say there's something like there's like a canister light directly overhead. From here, 1-point perspective, horizontal over to the wall, up, straight up to the ceiling, and then straight back over. Then you could go straight up and locate that spot right above. That should be a little bit straighter. That's better. And I can move that a little bit and see how much. Yeah, having it right there. There. So if you also, so you might use that if you're trying to locate, like if there's a table, like sofa table, and you have a pendant light hanging down from the ceiling directly above it. You locate the position on the floor over to the wall, up, and then back over, and then you can draw straight up. If I've got an object here on the floor, I just say I'm going to go up. I don't know where to stop because you have no point of reference. Coming over here, basically this is the same depth over to the wall, up, and then back over. Then you can draw up, and where they intersect, that's the position that it would, come from, like a cord hanging down. That's where it would come from. So I'll repeat that at some point in the future, probably multiple times, because this takes repetition. So you shouldn't expect yourself to remember all of this right away. It just takes time to learn this. Okay, so how is this? Is this like, this drawing of a 1-point perspective space? Is that fairly clear?
Yes.
You could do this?
Yeah.
Excellent. Because it really is a matter of drawing a rectangle, establishing the horizon line, choosing a location for the vanishing point, which does not need to be in the center. There's nothing that says it's supposed to be in the center. The way this position works is like wherever you put the vanishing point on the horizon line in a 1-point perspective drawing, this is the spot directly in front of the viewer of the drawing. Like this drawing assumes that whoever looks at the drawing is the viewer and is standing in front of that spot on the wall. You could put the vanishing point way over here if there's some reason, like you want to see this wall at a very oblique angle, if there's some reason to. I might not, but usually you'd put this in a position where it would allow you to show the interior to its best effect. Okay, so then drawing a piece of furniture, you've got the floor here, and you might think about this. I think it can be helpful. I'm going to try this because for some people it's helpful. For others, some people tell me that this is helpful. Let's just say I have a furniture object here. Now, I haven't drawn a floor plan. I don't have this. I didn't work this out in plan view yet. I haven't at all. I'm just kind of making this up. But you can see where I have a rectangle in perspective, in 1-point perspective. So this has to be horizontal on the front, horizontal on the back, and those are parallel to the horizon line. And the front and the back edge is back up against the wall. And if this is a piece of furniture like a sofa or a cabinet, buffet, something like that. This is the front. So these edges are receding from the viewer. It's moving away from you. And so here you draw these to the vanishing point. Not bad. Okay, make sure these are straight. This corner right here is going to get really pointy because as it goes to the left, these angles are going to get sharper because this is gets out into the peripheral vision of the viewer. And if you look straight ahead, wherever you're sitting, if you look straight ahead, you hold your hands up to the side of your like vision like this. I can see that my hands are there, but I cannot focus on them without turning and looking at them. In a perspective drawing, you can draw way out into the peripheral vision, and it can be sharply in focus, and so you get distortion. And sometimes if it's too much, you maybe need to reduce the scale of your drawing, or you just need to crop things that are accurate but don't look right. Okay, so here I have, this is I'm going to say this is 5.5 feet. This looks like it's taller than 5. So clearly more below the horizon line, a little bit less above the horizon line, and this is 5.5. 6 feet would be maybe like about here. 3 feet, I'm going to guess, would be like there. A little bit more from floor to 3 feet than from 3 feet to 5.5. The reason I want this is if I draw from the vanishing point through that point and then draw a line on the wall, that's 3 feet in scale from the floor up here. It looks bigger because it's closer to you. Does this make sense?
Yes.
You should follow. I hope if you are able to, you should follow along with what I'm drawing. So the reason I want 3 feet, I can't just go straight up from here to 3 feet. And if I really wanted accuracy, I could measure scale on this, but I'm approximating right now. If I go over to the wall, up to 3 feet, and then back over, so that's 3 feet coming out in space above that. Then I go up to here, and I could do the same thing out here, but since I have this here and here, I've got 3 feet height here away from the wall. Then I can just draw from here out. Oops. There. Ouch. Well, you just. There. And then my verticals are here. And here. Make sure I match it up with the right orthogonal coming out. I think I need to go there. And make sure that that is straight. I'm using but I'm checking the angle of the straight edge against the paper. I want to make sure I get the intersection right. If I'm a little bit forward of the actual intersection, it's going to move that too far down, and it won't be right. There. And then hopefully I've done this, if I've done this right, this will be a horizontal. If there's a little bit of an angle, I think I would just straighten it out maybe move one of the edges, or you can make one of the edges a little bit heavier. But there, all of that to get this in this, like in the scale of 3 feet relative to the rest of the interior. And let's say I've got another, so like here, like this, so if I have this width here, I'm going to put another object. Oh. Just do like this here. Oops, not there. Now, if I can approximate, if I know that, let's say this is 3 feet, I want it to be about half, I could approximate halfway up this edge and do this. You know, the way people use drawing in a design setting now is to make more like conceptual sketches, or to draw as a way of working out the different, I guess, like, you know, so like more of the earlier stages of a design. Because if you want a really carefully resolved drawing, you know, something like SketchUp is it's better in the fact that I have this view of this interior. If I want to change it to a different view, I have to make another drawing. And with SketchUp, once you build the sort of shell of the space, you can, you know, different media, you know, different digital media, you can do this. You can just like rotate it and turn it to a different angle, which is convenient. They tend to take more time, but once you have them, then you have them. Okay, look at that. Isn't that cool? All right, so I took some time to work out like the height of this. I think I should have been a little bit lower. I would have straightened that out. That's fine. Close enough. As long as it doesn't look really wrong. Like I don't want to have like some like weird angle on the edge there that wouldn't make any sense. Horizontal on the front edge here. And I'll sketch a little shadow in there to suggest some volume. Good. So if you know how, I mean, you can do this where you're sketching different things in you know, in space in a one-point interior. And since you have some introduction to how to draw furniture, you could potentially draw. Let's say I'm going to put a chair here. Now, in terms of the area that the chair takes up on the floor, I'm approximating scale here. If the chair back is like somewhere around 3 feet, 40 inches, depending on, I mean, it really depends on the chair design, like which type of chair, what's it used for. Some have higher backs than others, and some of you know, like the Macintosh ladder back chair, which is ridiculously tall, like the back would be like way up here. But if I just say I've got like this here, drawing in an interior, I will often do that where I draw the base of it in perspective, kind of like if, I mean, you could go through and draw like a floor plan in perspective in advance of brazing anything up to up to 3 dimensions. Okay. So now this here, now that chair looks like the scale is too big for the space that I've drawn. Right now, when I'm drawing freehand like this, you can see I'm moving. I'm holding the pencil still, and I'm moving my hand a little bit more mechanically. It allows me to just pull this and make straighter edges for these orthogonals, which is like that angled line that comes from the vanishing point. Being sort of quick and decisive with it is really helpful. Now, seat height, so let's say 18 inches is the seat height. This is 3 feet approximately. Half of that is down here. I'm just going to try measuring this and just bring this 18 inches here. If I go back to the vanishing point, and when along the floor, when I hit the wall, I have to go up to the 18 and then back out, and that'll help me get a better scale for 1.5 feet off the floor. It also might encourage me to slim this chair down and maybe make it not so deep, although I should probably wait and put the cushion on it first. Maybe give the back some thickness. So when I'm, the way I'm drawing this, I'm making a quick sketch. I can do this because I don't have questions about how to use perspective. When you're learning how, it's harder to do this. It takes practice to the point where you know perspective well enough that you don't have to wonder if you're drawing the right thing. And that's just something that will take time. So I know, and I've encountered this where some people seem to think that making a quick sketch is the easy thing because it doesn't necessarily take that much time. But it's actually a lot harder to know. I mean, you make a quick sketch that's accurate because you know perspective well enough to know what you can abbreviate, what you can leave out, what you absolutely have to have. So I think don't listen to people who don't draw tell you what's important about perspective. And I've also encountered people who are working the design field and they say like, oh, drawing's a waste of time, nobody draws. Well, that's not true. I keep running into people who insist that drawing is a valued skill, and they lament the fact that college programs have gradually stopped teaching it to designers, and it's foolish. People assume that people who go into design just automatically know how to draw, as if by magic, and education doesn't work that way. And I believe I may have already told you this when going to share this just in case I didn't. About 2 years ago, I took a group of students to the large commercial architecture and interior design firm called Gensler. They do a lot of large-scale projects all over the world. Hotels, large, just like, lots like multi-floor, like, lots of towers. And I asked the interior designer that was giving us the tour. We just went on a tour of their offices. I ran into some people I knew, which was kind of fun, some old students who were working there. And then we sat down and we were just having this Q&A with the designer. And I asked the interior designer, is drawing by hand still valued at Gensler? And she said yes, without any hesitation. And she said that they do have a lot of clients who expect that they're going to see designers making drawings working on the project that they're paying for. And the clients want to sit with the designers and the architects and be a part of the process. And so the resolve, like just like presenting finished, digital renderings that are all very photographic, she said that's often very disappointing to the client because they feel like they weren't part of the process. And the problem, she says, that they run into is that there are fewer people who know how to do it well enough that they can sit with the client and draw. And so they rely on a small number of people who work at the firm who are some architects, some interior designers, and they rely on them to go to client meetings and be the ones to make drawings. So this is a matter, like learning drawing is a matter of developing a broader range of skill. It's better for you. And as my friend Christy Yarbrough puts it, it's nothing, when you know how to draw, when you're the only one in the room that knows how to draw, you are like a rock star or some other important badass person. So, but be patient. It's not like it's like learning how to play a musical instrument or learning how to dance or something like that. If you've never done it before, you really shouldn't expect yourself to just sit down and have it all come out easily. Okay, so here's my chair. So this is actually pretty decent in scale because I approximated 1.5 feet for the seat height. I came across here at 1.5. I can't just say this is the seat height because that's against the wall and this chair is away from the wall. And so I have to go from my shape here, just like just on one of the sides, back to the wall, up to the 1.5, my approximation of 1.5, and then out. And there's my seat. I brought the seat height up a little bit for the cushion, but this is close enough. And if I wanted more detail, like if I needed to be like draw a specific chair design there, then I could do that. But for right now, I'm just doing this is a demonstration. And I really want to encourage you to draw chairs like this, where you just, you start with, I'll draw another one here. Let me get my, move my guy. I have another one like right here. Now, in terms of like establishing the scale here, there are ways. Later in the semester, I'm going to show you plan projection perspective, but I was thinking I was going to do it sooner, but I want to slow it down since we're not meeting in person and you don't have drafting tables, or at least I can't expect that you all have drafting tables. All right, so here is my footprint of my chair. If this is my 1.5 for the seat height, actually I can just do this. If I have these lined up like this, I can, no Dennis. Dennis is really after, I forgot to give him food before class. I could just like come over here and then up there, let them meet since these corners line up, and then draw out. That's the top of the seat, and then I have to bring this down. Or where I bring this over here, like 1.5 across to the corner there, then I could bring this out, wrap this. Basically, I could like wrap these like measurements around the wall, and then I can come over to the wall and then up, and then back over. This I use for the bottom of the seat, and then I added the cushion on top. So this height is actually a little bit bigger than the 18 inches. Sketch, sketch, sketch. But like this chair that I'm drawing, this is like not any chair. This is just like, it's 4 legs, a seat, and a back. If I need to add arms, I can add arms. And then if I want to add, like putting add a little bit of design to it. I mean, really, from here, you would look at a photograph of a specific piece of furniture and then shape it. Like in the history class, a cabriole leg is a leg that's kind of like that. If this is straight, then at least I have a beginning where I can push this out and then back and do that. So I don't have to just do it right from the beginning. I start with a straight leg, and I can turn it into pretty much any kind of leg I want. And then here, these back legs are often just like sort of like reverse saber leg. Cool. There's a little like doily on there to keep the upholstery clean. Does this help your understanding of how to draw furniture in an interior?
Yes.
Does it bring up any questions for you that you'd like to ask me?
Is it trial and error, like deciding like the chair, like how you drew that first one too big and then you erased it and started over? Or is there any sort of like method or trying to scale right?
Well, that's a good question. The way I drew this, it is trial and error that I was approximating scale for the base. But if the plan projection is the method that allows you to project like the appropriate scale into the perspective drawing from a floor plan, and so this is like a shortcut, and I can show you. This is going to work here. It is there. I'm going to have to take this down. Do you want to see me approximate plan projection just so you can see what it is, even though we're not going to do it yet?
Yeah.
Good. It's really cool. It was, plan projection was developed back in probably the 18th century, maybe the 17th century, when people were working out perspective. After the linear perspective is a method that was developed in the early 1400s in what is present-day Italy by a guy named Brunelleschi. And he figured out the basics, the things that we use, like that these parallel edges as they recede will appear to converge at a point. That was something that was not understood until Brunelleschi demonstrated it. And once Brunelleschi demonstrated some of these basic basic rules of perspective, then people started working on experimenting with how do you draw everything using perspective. And really, I've listened to a physicist, Frank Wilczek, talking about vision. He's someone who's interested in the arts. He learned perspective drawing because he was interested. Even though he's he is a Nobel Prize winning physicist, but he's very interested in art and beauty as well. And he talks about vision, like what you see, is all geometry. It's like the way it works, like with your eye, and your eye project, sort of sending messages to your brain. He said fundamentally everything is geometry. And so, drawing, like a perspective drawing of an interior, can be projected as geometry. And, it's kind of cool. So here, I'm going to set this up there. Now, if you have a floor plan, and I'm going to do this in like a 2-point perspective. Let's just say we have an interior like this. And I have, let's say I'm standing here. This is an interior with here you can have area carpet, walls here, let's have a big wall of windows. These are mullions for the windows. So this, there's a lot of light coming in that corner. I think I might move myself. I'm going to look this way. All right, so let me just keep this fairly simple here. Let's make this a bigger object. Okay, so let's say, let's just sort of, ask some basic questions. Do you understand this as a very rough sketch of an interior?
Yes.
This is me standing in the interior looking straight at this area. That's we're going to be right in front of me. And with what I did here, I made a lot of assumptions to make this drawing. I drew this flat rectangle. If it's in 2-point perspective, I would have this corner. And I could do the same thing where I approximate the height. Move that up a little bit. So here's the top. Here's my corner. This vertical line represents this corner back here. And I'm just going to put in vanishing points. Yeah, this is going to be there. That'll be right there. Okay, that's a decent approximation for where the vanishing points would go. And then there. Okay, 2-point interior. This is because this is turned at an angle and my view is more into a corner. It's a 2-point perspective drawing. I can see there are these windows here. So if I draw a line through this farthest point that I can see, which this is called the picture plane, I established my vanishing points by going from my station point, which is me. This is called the station point. Up parallel to the architecture, parallel to what I'm drawing, up to the picture plane, and then down, and there's until I hit the horizon line. Same thing with this one. It's like right there. I just made it. Okay. So this is a right angle. This is 90 degrees from like right here, out here, out here. Then this should have been straight down. I'm going to move that. Oh, I was actually going to do that. I might just do that again there, but whatever. I'm doing this. I'm doing it here. This is where it's happening. All right. So right here, where the picture plane is, this whole line that runs through here. This represents the imaginary like limit of my view, like so like the limit of my depth that I'm seeing. And where it intersects this corner, anything that intersects the picture plane or is drawn to the picture plane can be brought down into the drawing. So here, from here straight down, there's my corner. Here's my left vanishing point. Out. Out. Now you can see like I need to leave floor space for myself. I don't think I have quite enough floor space, but this is just a demonstration. There. Okay. This wall is this one. This wall is this one. Now, to project this, I'm going to just say like, I've got this wall here. I want to get like this piece of furniture projected. I'm going to go from the sides to the wall and then make a point, because I've already drawn the wall. I can use it to create these like points that I project from. So this is the projection, is when you go from the station point through this point on the wall, there and there, and then I bring that down. And if you're ideally you use this, you do this on a drafting table so you can keep everything very precise. And I would use a scale and scale this in perspective. The scale of the perspective drawing needs to be the same scale that you drew the floor plan in, so that the height and the widths correspond. But if I'm just drawing this like freehand, so I have my object in perspective. Sorry, I have my object in the floor plan. Let's pretend this is like maybe a sofa. To locate it relative to the architecture, I have to draw from the sides back to the architecture. I get points on the wall, and I can do that because I already drew the wall. I draw from the station point through these 2 points up to the picture plane and then bring it down. And then once I get these, like this is like the width of it in perspective. And then I can draw like the sides. And this is like, yeah, really like, you can see like the perspective is like, it's kind of like flaring out a lot because I'm here and this is way over this is like to my left. Now that I've got, so this is to answer the question of how do you, how can you be precise about scale? This gives me the width in perspective that's based on what I'm seeing in the floor plan. Now that I've got the width and I've got these lines drawn for the sides, then I could project, I'm going to project the 2 front corners there and there. And you can see where like the more things you project, the more you need to label. Like this is sofa 1, sofa 2. Then, this is the front corner. And I'd need to bring this down like there. And, I mean, really, I can do this. Actually, I need to just do the sides, not the two front ones. Well, I can show you how that works. I can project this down and get this like corner right here, and then I can use the vanishing point and get this one, which will work. I'd need to project, in this case, because I need to project two of the sides. And you can see how these are a lot closer together than these two were for the front corners, which corresponds to perspective. And since I'm doing this freehand, this is all very approximate. But this would come down to about here. And then in scale, if I have this, I can get scale from, like I'd have little like marks here for, in scale, 1 foot, 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot, 5 foot, 6 foot, 7 foot, and so on. There. Now I know that may stir up more questions than it answers, but there is a way to create accurate scale in your perspective drawing that corresponds to what you drew in a floor plan. But I'm going to use like I want to like do approximations. We're going to have to do approximations because if everyone's not working at a drafting table, it's you have to do an approximation of this method. And I'll work up a cleaner demonstration of how to do this the way I just did this here. But does this help at all?
Yes.
I mean, even if you can't do it today, it's there's a book called Perspective for Interior Designers by John Pyle, and it has a pretty decent explanation of how to do this in its first chapter. I don't usually use it as a textbook because once I demonstrate, like its first chapter shows you how to do 2-point perspective in plan projection, and it's really something that, like, once I demonstrate it, it usually makes that book less necessary. But I'll share with you the information about it. I believe it's listed as a recommended textbook in the syllabus. Anyway, there. So all that, it's a lot. And this whole process, like computing, like figuring out, like you've got a plan in scale, and you have vanishing, like you've got these. You do the projection. You set up your. First, you choose a spot for your station point, and you have your horizon line down below the plan. Right angle to get vanishing point. Right angle to get vanishing point, and then you have a horizon line with the vanishing points that are they're the right distance apart for this position in the plan and for the scale. That helps a lot. So there's a little extra distortion in this because I've done it all freehand, but. So like what I did up here, what I started doing up here, I measured 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch down from the edge of the paper for the picture plane. So that would be nice and straight. And then if I were to place like a floor plan, I mean here, like, you'd have to, what we usually do is we take the floor plan, tape it to the drafting table, and then put tracing paper over it. And then your initial drawing takes place on a large piece of tracing paper. And I will show you. There are demonstrations of that already in the YouTube channel from the end of the semester in the spring, and also from previous semesters, because this was something that even before the pandemic, I was making some videos so that students could follow along and just be reminded of like exactly how this works, because that projection method is one of those things where if you miss one step, you kind of lost. Like, it can happen. So, all right. I think right now I'm going to we'll have a short break. Let's see, it's 2:08. Let's come back at 2:20, and I'm going to get back to working on some more drawings like this, where we approximate scale for a 1-point drawing and then approximate scale for a 2-point drawing. And this will be like, we'll skip the projection step and just I'll show you how to abbreviate approximating the scale of an interior with 1 and 2 point. And then you'll have this sort of like shell for placing furniture in. And remember, we'll dangle this. This is what your, like, do you want to know how to draw this? Sure you do. Then we'll do these first. And soon, we have months. What is this, middle of February? We have March, April, May. You still have 3 months of instruction for this class. Oh, stop that. Okay. Okay. So break time, and I'll see you at 2:20.